Matt, how would you describe your team's ability to excel in situational football tonight, going to Trey Bell's stop on the reverse, a couple J-Mo hits, the soul plays, on down the line?
Yeah, I thought we played really good complementary football. Like, we played the game in the rhythm that we would want to play in for the majority of the night. There's some areas as the game wore on that maybe weren't as clean. That 2-minute situation at the end of half, obviously the red zone possession at the end of the game. But, for our kids to come off the bye, I thought we got better, and that was huge. Chase Soul, I thought, obviously, I said this again, like, man, that kid was like fall camp for the first 3, he hadn't had any fall camp. So what you saw is what you see in fall camp, is you see a slow progression to get where you want to go. And then I thought defensively, we got healthy. Some guys really stepped up, played really good football, and I thought on special teams we played the way we needed to play to win the football game. So I think all those things are positive, and still not perfect. A lot of work to do, and huge challenges, on the horizon, obviously.
You mentioned Chase, his ability to catch balls in tight windows is one thing, but his ability to accelerate immediately once he catches seems to be special. How did he impress you?
Yeah, I think in fall camp, we only had him for 4 days, and the first 4 days there were some wow moments, and I think that's probably what's so unique about him that's different than maybe a couple of the other guys that we've had is, man, his ability to go from 0 to 100 fast is uber impressive. And so, again, I'm excited for him because I've watched him put the time, the effort, the energy to have those moments come his way. And, as you all know, that's frustrating when you're not where you want to be, and his ability to work through his own frustration. It's been really awesome to see. So glad for him. We're going to need him to keep going. And then again, we'll see. I think it's going to be a different person every night, but excited for him for sure.
Yeah, on Chase, actually, how much of an opportunity was this bye week to get him, more acclimated and more involved in the offense?
Yeah, I think it was really big, not just for Chase, but probably for a lot of our guys. When you, especially with a guy like Chase, where literally his first practice was after he had 4 practices, and he was out for the rest of fall camp. And his first practice back was getting ready to go to Ireland, right? Like that's not fair. And yet that's just the situation he was dealt and we were dealt, and you got to kind of work through it. When you get that opportunity to take a step back and really hone back in fundamentals, detail, I thought across the board, I thought we did a really good job of that. He certainly did a great job of that. I thought a lot of our kids were able to take, man, what did we do well? What didn't we do well? And then, man, how do we keep working ourselves forward? But I thought our kids were outstanding that way, and Chase certainly, it showed his effort and I think his ability to kind of hone back in on this detail.
The interceptions from your DBs tonight, talk a little bit about those and kind of the areas of the field that they were, how big they were, and the result.
Yeah, again, I think that goes back to who we are defensively, is this unique ability to just keep playing, and I think statistically, when we do a great job at not giving up the big play and make people have to earn it down the field, we feel really confident, especially as that field shrinks at times, that we've got the ability to be really confident to make plays on the ball. And thought those were huge plays, obviously, throughout the game tonight. I think the disappointing on the flip side of it is we don't ever want to be the team that's turning the ball over down there, and we did. But the reality of it, I thought defensively made some huge plays in some huge moments.
And then injury-wise with Kaijan, with Dom, how are they coming out of this? And then if you wanted to make a statement like with Jeremiah Cooper, what his status is going forward.
Yeah, so Coop, obviously, we lost for the year. He's going to have surgery on Monday. A knee ligament stinks for Coop. Probably the silver lining in his situation is the fact that, obviously Jeremiah's got another year of eligibility. And so, I think as we'll work through this, Coop's really tough. And it stinks when you lose a captain and a guy that everybody has so much respect for. But, the reality of it is, man, I just saw him on the field coaching tonight. I saw him last night in the hotel coaching our guys. And, who Jeremiah Cooper is way bigger than this injury, and he'll come back better from it. On the flip side of it, I think the rest of those guys tonight, it looked like everybody was just dinged up. I think everybody could have went back into the game if we needed to. I think the one that's probably a little bit more than that is Kaijan, and we'll know more about where that is tomorrow or Monday. But I think everybody else in a pretty good spot.
How would you evaluate the tackling tonight versus Arkansas State?
Yeah, better. You know, I mean, we weren't gassed and it wasn't 117 degrees and on the road, you know, like, so I just thought, I thought again, fundamentally, we were a better football team tonight than where we were 2 weeks ago. And so, you know, again, that's not an excuse, it's a reality, I think. And the honest ability is we had to get back to work on our detail.
For Chase, everything you just detailed, how much did you guys need to preach patience to him throughout all of that?
Well, I think anybody that's a competitor wants it right away. And I think that's the hard thing with our team is there's so many different guys that can make a play in the moment. And that's tough. It's tough when you have one football on offense and everybody else has got the ability to be a great playmaker too. So, you know, that's what I'm really proud of. I never heard one complaint, one man pointing the finger. You know, he just went to work. And usually when you got the ability to do that and just go back to work on your process, great things happen for you. And I think that's what you saw happen for him tonight. And again, I think our quarterback's got a lot of belief in who he is and what he's got the ability to become as well.
Where was the biggest step forward for this team since the bye week?
Yeah, I just think fundamentally, you know, I think our fundamentals, 4 games in a football season, you get to learn a lot about yourself. And I always think it's really hard to be elite at fundamentals early in the football season, just because, again, practicing football and playing live reps are completely different animals. And I thought we were a much better team out the gate than we had been, because I think how we practiced in full camp. But I still felt there was so much growth that we could make, and I still even think tonight there's a lot of growth that we made. The great teams in college football, the teams that don't ride the wave of inconsistency, they've got the ability to come back to work, look at the videotape, and they got the ability to demand to get better, and we're going to have to do that. You know, this football team goes on the road to 2 huge road games here coming up, which is going to be a great challenge for us. And you know, you got to win championship football games on the road if you want to be a team that's got the ability to compete for one of those.
And you guys only outgained it by 39 yards, but you go out and beat it by 25. What goes into that?
Yeah, I think we made some explosive plays in the moment. I thought we were, you know, early in the game, you know, our field position was really positive, and that's a great credit to great defense. And, you know, I thought, you know, for 3.5 quarters, we did a great job finishing those drives with good field position.
Why the decision to go for 2 after the first touchdown, and what did Chase Smith give you?
Yeah, well, I wanted to settle Chase down. So that was my number one. Is I told him, I said, man, I'm gonna give you a chance to breathe here through this a little bit. We're gonna try to go for 2, and then honestly, I thought he did a great job. As I told you guys, I mean, the one nice thing for him is he's had live reps. I mean, he's played, you know, I would say significant amount of snaps already in terms of kicking and extra points, even before we got to tonight. That I think made everybody here really confident that he could go in and do his job. But you know, I think the big thing for me was just trying to give him an opportunity to kind of settle himself in. And, you know, we knew there'd be really great energy in this stadium and let him have a little bit of poise. And I thought he was awesome tonight. I thought his kickoffs were great. I thought he did a great job as a point scorer, and he'll continue to only grow and get himself better, but really excited for him, really proud of him.
Coach, is there a specific margin that you're up, that you start to weigh? Should we keep starters in? Should we pull them, especially when the guy's been dinged up?
Yeah, probably sometimes. I think all those things are different. You know, as you never felt like the game was totally out of hand there in the fourth quarter. So I think you're always trying to weigh that as a coach, whether you're right or you're wrong. You're always trying to weigh that. But yeah, that's a great question. I think you're always trying to evaluate that.
What was your message to Trey, Quentin, and the rest of the secondary after you learned the news about Jeremiah's injury?
Well, I think for Trey, there probably didn't need to be a lot of messages. I think he's earned the right to be an A player, right? I mean, if you go back and watch the videotape, you could probably say nobody's played as good a corner as what Trey Bell has played in the first 4 games. So I think for Trey, you just say, you keep doing what you're doing. I think in terms of Quentin, man, he played about 30 snaps last week against Arkansas State, and he played pretty good. And he's earned the right to get on the field. And again, your role's going to expand now, and you've got to be ready to step up in the moment. And you know, here's a young man that's like meant the world to our football team, and how he's played and how he's prepared. Now it's your job to pick up that slack and be ready to help our football team be its best. So I thought he did a really good job tonight. I thought he played great last week at Arkansas State, and I think he's ready for the moment for sure.
You said before that it's about, you know, rising up to the occasion when your number's called. What can you tell us about Chase's work habits behind the scenes that helped him kind of excel today?
Yeah. Again, you're talking Chase Soul or Chase Smith?
Chase Soul, yeah.
Chase Soul, yeah. Yeah, I think for Chase, you know, again, and I hope he'll talk about it, but I think this really started for him midway through spring ball, you know, and watching how our guys practice here, what Brett Eskelson does, what it looks like to win in the dark, when Higgins and Noel were around in their pre-draft process, and watching how those guys worked at their craft. I thought it was really great because all of a sudden I watched Chase and you saw him kind of morph. That's why it's great to have a football program, right? That's why buying players and having a program where there's guys that are excelling at elite rate is huge. And, you know, I think Higgins and Noel had a huge impact on those guys, you know, of this is what it takes to play here. This is the expectation. Brett Eskelson playing that way. And then you watch this guy really kind of go to work. And I was really proud of him. And even through the summer, I mean, his hydration, his diet, his nutrition, you just saw all these things starting to live like a pro. And then, like I said, the first 5 days of fall camp, I don't know if there was a better player on our football field than what Chase was, you know. And you know, for him to get dinged up, it was frustrating, and he was frustrated, but I was really proud of his perseverance. So I think it really started with a lot of those guys back here. It started with Brett Eskelson. It started obviously with the quarterback that demands excellence of everybody every day. And I think he would tell you that. I think a lot of those guys helped him kind of settle himself in and really start to grow forward.
Coach, I believe four touchdowns that were all for 1 yard. Can you just speak a little bit about your red zone offense today?
Well, we're like the worst team in America in terms of like getting down on the 1 yard line. So if anybody's got an answer to it, you might as well help us fix it, because we can't figure it out how to like score the football. So we try to make it painful and tough for the head coach and everybody else. But yeah, it is what it is. You know, Rocco, you know, great for Rocco. What did he get? 3 rushing touchdowns today or something like that. So, you know, we'll help build his stats, which are great. But no, I thought, you know, huge to be able to make those big plays, and I thought that was awesome to see. How about nobody's talking about Bramer's throw? You know, I mean, that was pretty good. That was not the initial target, so you guys know that was the second option. So pretty impressive. But yeah, I just think our ability to get down there, we want to be great when we get the ball inside the 5 yard line and score touchdowns. And I think we've been really good at it so far this year. If we want to be a great team, great teams have the ability to finish, especially in those areas. So, you know, we'll have to keep working. Again, not real happy of us turning the ball over down there at the end of the game, and those are things that great teams don't do, but we'll learn from it, we'll grow from it, we'll be better from it.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys,
Thanks, Matt.